Basically, she said inaccurate things as she was kind of boomering out a little bit. Okay, so there's a part of it that I agree with, but it's only like the premise. It's not how she thinks about it. Does that make sense? I do think there is something to say. We've talked about this before. There is something to say about how we communicate our ideas to people, and the sort of the influx of the 2016 years, sort of 2015 to 2017, 2016 being the apex of like it's not my responsibility to educate you type mentality. Which is fine for, like, if you are a person that is, say, trans, and you don't want to, yet again, justify your life to somebody. Obviously, that makes sense. You get to opt out of that. She basically tweeted, like, hey, Gen Z has very convoluted ways of explaining their things, and she used examples like this. Quote, I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck. She said that this was like a contradictory statement, or seemingly contradictory. And casual reminder that heterosexuality doesn't make your gayness any less valid. And these are quotes she's using to describe confusing language from Gen Z people. Where's the last one? I'm a horny asexual. Anyway, this the first one was really, I think, where most of the buzz happened, right? I'm a horny asexual that loves to fuck, because asexuality is not never having any libido. It's not necessarily. It just means that maybe libido exists, but for some people, and that's why it's a sticky subject, right? Because this doesn't really describe the experience. Because if you I had a conversation yesterday with somebody on Twitter. To even call conversations on Twitter conversations is strong. Eek the cat, thanks for the 5 months. You don't have to be trans to be trans. Yeah, she also said you don't have to be trans to be trans. I forgot she said that. Yeah. But I think it's a situation where I agree in premise. If you just said sometimes people are bad at communicating things that are complex, sure, I agree with that. I think we all agree with that, right? Because we've had conversations here before where we're like, wow, consider the words you're using when you're talking to somebody. Like we've talked about it with the word anarchy. When you say anarchy to a normie, they don't understand what you're talking about. They think fucking Molotov cocktails and breaking windows and shit, right? When really you mean no unjust hierarchy and sort of like, when anarchism is. And I agree that there can be people that are, most people are not super great at like really explaining a concept. That said, I also disagree entirely with pretty much everything else that Natalie did after that point, if that makes sense. Argonian Bum, thanks for the 14 months. She does this kind of fucking... Let me just read it. Oh, God. So, look, last night, it's true. I admit it. I confess it all. I started discourse. I wasn't trying to, but that's irrelevant now. It's too late to go back. And now, as the discourse starter, I'm feeling pangs of responsibility to at least try to leave things better than I found them. This isn't me defending myself, because first, who fucking gives a shit? This is the part where it's just like, stop it, right? This shit right here. I understand it. I get it. Like, as a content creator, certainly smaller than Natalie, is by a million miles. Batty Bell, thanks for 13 months. Appreciate you. Like, I get the idea of this. It's just like the way she communicates this isn't reasonable. Like, or maybe not reasonable is not the right word. It isn't productive. It's a pity party. It's sort of a pity party, right? And, she gets to feel how she feels, but, like, people get to feel how they feel when she says stuff. You know what I mean? Second, the best defense is always to ignore it, and I know that I'm not a fucking idiot. Third, it's like very, very defensive. Third, I don't need to defend myself anyway, because at this point there's nothing you can do to hurt me. Try though you may, you absolute goblins. This is in jest, but I'm sure people didn't read that it is in jest. No, I planted the seed, and this is simply my attempt to nurture the crop harvest. Does that make sense? No, great. Anyway, she starts off on the wrong foot, right? Like she's alienating the reader who is mad at her. Like, I don't personally, like, I'm not mad because it doesn't affect me. I'm just more, like, annoyed by this kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think her feelings are fine, but, like, the way she communicates it is shitty to people. Muffin the Magnificent. My only fear about her original point and stuff is that it's like Mott and Bailey argument, but also promotes her coming video. I don't know. Tone is important. Yeah, her tone is weird, but it's fine. We're not tone policing. So let's just take it at face value, and let's try to pull back, because I think we're even if we pull back and like don't be like, well, that pisses me off. Even if we prevent ourselves from being pissed off, I mean, we keep reading, and you know, the discourse about Gen Z queer people online saying things like, quote, "I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck," and quote, "casual reminder that heterosexuality doesn't make your gayness any less valid," and might claim that these statements are, quote, "hard to figure out." No, I'm not saying they aren't valid. I've never been big on deciding what is valid. If you're a horny asexual who loves to fuck, by all means continue. With my maternal blessing. Like, this kind of with my maternal blessing. I know she's making a joke. I know she is. But the way that some people see this shit is like, it's this kind of, it's like a snipe. It's like a shot, taking a shot, trying to, you know, add levity to the situation, but it's not. It's like running counter. This is a social thing that maybe you probably shouldn't do in this situation if you want someone to hear you out. So I understand if you were made mad by the original tweet, then I mean this is not going to help. You know what I mean? So it's this kind of stuff. It's not like, I don't actually think what she says here, like the meat of it, is actually that wild. And I think most people tend to agree that what she ends up saying here, if you just strip it of this kind of bullshit, it's not that bad. I understand it. But, like, this kind of stuff makes it worse. But surely you see that, to most people, the statement, quote, "I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck," is, at face value, confusing, contradictory, and in so many words, hard to figure out. So, ace people, you are, you know, not annoyed. I'm mostly just confused. I'm reading it through it now, and it must just be dense because it seems just to be just parody. Yeah, it's not. We'll parse it. Sometimes I get the sense that people say these things in part because they enjoy the provocation of the seeming contradiction, but maybe I'm wrong. Just to be safe, I'm going to use my platform. See, she capitalizes it. Like she's like scoffing in text form. Ah! Natalie has been attacked several times with very minimal provocation on her part. This time, she has chosen violence at the wrong point, in my opinion. I do not think this helps anybody. And, like, I know she doesn't give a shit, but it's like, it just makes the people that you're mad at, or that are mad at you, more mad at you. Because you're just dismissing them. It's, I don't know. To explore why these seemingly contradictory statements might, in fact, make sense, she's going to go into it. So, we can talk about it in a second. One thing I see a lot of people saying is that asexuality means, quote, lack of sexual attraction rather than, quote, no libido. Meaning that asexual people might still desire sex even absent any specific object-oriented attraction. See, she gets it. This is understanding asexuality. If that seems counterintuitive, consider that people often have sex for reasons other than sexual attraction, to feel attractive, to sustain a marriage, for money, etc., and that sex might still be enjoyable. I myself have had sex with people I wasn't attracted to and occasionally even enjoyed it. It's fine. I'm fine. For another example, sometimes straight people have gay sex just to get off. It's a thing. So it makes sense that some people who never experience sexual attraction still might enjoy having sex, and in such a case, they could aptly be described as, quote, horny asexuals who love to fuck. I have a master's in philosophy. So, Selena, thanks for the 29 months. Hope you're having a good day as well. Gives me the vibe that I'd rather make people explain themselves a million times rather than do 10 minutes of Googling on my own. A little bit of that, yeah. Was it Duelenstia? Thanks for following. So I think she gets what asexuality is, right? I think she understands it. On the surface, I do understand when she says from the perspective of a normie, I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck. Although I think this is a straw man, first of all. I don't think there are many people who say this or act like this at all, right? She's just saying that this is the kind of provocation that we see in sort of Gen Z woke spaces. To some degree, the straw man, it like sounds intuitive and rings true, but it's still a straw man, and that's kind of the problem. You know what I mean? Like her opinion in general that people are bad at communication about complex things is true, but she only added to the confusion she was bitching about. Does that make sense? The wokey teenagers. Yeah. It just... Normies don't even understand bisexuals and heteronormal issues. I agree. I think the problem is isn't that she doesn't understand what asexuality is, because she does. It's because a lot of people don't understand what asexuality is. So seeing her make a joke about the way people communicate just goes over their heads and think, well, yeah, let's roast those weird asexuals. That's what I think asexual people read that as too. I agree. Tanny the Tiger, or Tawny the Tiger, right? We've just discussed this. Thanks for the tier 2 for 5 months. I'm glad you're feeling better. Sorry, just in time to join the rest of us. Yeah. Choking Ouroboros. Thanks for the 2 months. When I'm confused about sexuality, things that are new to me, I just look stuff up and learn by listening. I don't think she was confused about the specific sexualities, though. I don't think she was confused. I think she was bitching in a non-productive way about how... There is a group of, or I'll say that there's a subset of lefty woke spaces that are very dismissive of people that don't get it, and I agree with that, and I think you agree with that. There are a group of people, atheists were like this back in the day as well. I mean, they turned into Sargon. That sort of smug, I get it, so I'm better than you attitude. It's not a lot of people, but it's enough people to where you go, yeah, fuck off, right? Your fucking attitude is weird. If you were to explain, like, I don't know. I'm a horny asexual who loves to fuck. And then they say that, and then someone goes, wait, I thought asexual... In earnest, someone says... oh, I thought asexual people didn't like to have sex. Just not understanding what asexuality is, right? And then they go, I can't believe, like, that you're such a fucking ace-phobe or something like that. Like, that kind of stuff, where someone is just, like, genuinely doesn't understand. Those people exist, and they are shitty to people, and I don't understand why. I don't understand it at all. This is why Twitter is cancer. Yeah, I agree. And so, someone turned TJ Kirk, too. He got better over years, didn't he? Yeah, and Batty Bell says, I'm a gray asexual myself, so I understand what she's saying, but I personally don't really explain my sexuality like that. I tend to lay out the nuance a little more for people because odds are they won't understand it too well at first. Of course. And so Contra is being a TERF, or rather, I don't think she's being a TERF here. No. I think that'd be a vast reduction of it. What she's doing is the reason people got upset about this specific thing is because she mirrored what right-wing losers often say when they dismiss people's identities outright. I was going to say I had a conversation on Twitter. I ended up not talking about it, but I meant to. She's being smug. Absolutely, she's being smug. And this is the problem, right? This is why, like, she might say something partially correct. People are bad at communicating complex ideas. That's true. I think everybody realizes that's true. But she did it in more of an acidic way than, she meant to. Or well, not that she meant to. She just did it in more of an acidic way that she wasn't ready for the fallout from, or maybe didn't expect. I don't know why she wouldn't expect it. Excuse me for 1 second. Anyway. I was really fucking pissed about it, but Jake is absolutely nailing it. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I think you can attack one thing without throwing other people under the bus, and she didn't do that. She threw everybody under the bus that she talked about while doing it. She basically threw, like, the conversation of, like, you know, the people trying to make clear what their identity is, whether it's asexuality or transness or whatever it is. Those two groups often get wrapped up in her bullshit, and pan and bi, and those people end up usually getting tossed out with her dismissiveness. I don't know. There was a couple controversies before that I thought, like, people were blowing out of proportion. This one, I think it's proportioned. I don't think people are, like, losing their fucking minds about it. I think they're just more, like, exasperated. I think people are like, again. So let's go to the part two. Part two. Thanks, Dr. Randy. The gay heterosexuals, and Raven, thank you for the 7 months. Knee slap. The gay heterosexuals. Gay describes a sexual orientation, but it also describes a community and a culture. So to pick the most charitable example I could think of, some straight trans people continue to identify as gay because they remain deeply connected to the gay or lesbian community they belonged to pre-transition. I think this is fine and valid, though. Again, at face value, when you say, I'm straight now, but still gay, it sounds like you're describing some kind of sexual identity quantum superposition. I just disagree. I feel a twinge of irritation, probably because I feel that this kind of fluidity is not available to gay trans people. I suspect, for example, the community would be irritated at me if I identified as both a lesbian woman and a heterosexual transvestite. But I guess I should have thought of that before being an autogynephilic menace. So, the end sentence just dismisses the whole fucking point. It's this is the problem, this last sentence. It just dismisses it. It becomes dismissive of the thing. It's like, I listened, but fuck you. You know what I mean? And maybe she feels like, but fuck you. You know what I'm saying? That's also fine. However, I just hope she doesn't expect a good response from this. What she's saying up here, does anyone disagree with this part of it before she does that part? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can really disagree with, like, here's how I feel about this. It does come across as a little strange, and this is, like, kind of how I feel as a trans woman and like, my experiences in it. I mean, what do I have to say about that? You know what I mean? This is not my community. I only support it. You know what I mean? So, up until about here, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm on board with this. And then it's just like, I dismiss all of that bullshit. You know what I mean? Again, it's just this, What are your thoughts on the first part of the treat? Well, that's what we're talking about. I think since she's going through it, the first part is like, she needed to fucking pay better attention to what she's saying. My bad for not clarifying. I'm very hurt and angry and been attacked all week. Maybe I can go clear times. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You guys are having a different conversation. People don't understand you equals you are doing something wrong, I guess. Okay, let's keep going. God, I'm depressed. Watching in horror as I type this out. Where's my jewel? Look at you. Wait, what? I can't fucking read. Look, you can call me a very old boomer. That's fair. A very old boomer MILF. Of course, it's not just Gen Z that uses cryptic, provocative discourse style. I originally started Contrapoints partially out of frustration that millennial SJW activists were attempting to communicate basically true and important ideas in an extremely inarticulate, irrational, sloganeering, dogmatic, no, I will not elaborate on that, and if you disagree, you're the enemy rhetorical mode that was off-putting to almost everyone. I almost wanted to be understood, to explain myself clearly and patiently to people who just genuinely didn't get it, and now that Gen Z is leading online discourse, I find myself irritated by the same rhetorical trends that used to bother me in millennials, but now I sound old when I complain about it. Fuck. I don't disagree with starting here. I originally started Contrapoints, but this first paragraph, again, is just... It's like a diffusing tactic or something that just makes people go, groan. You know what I mean? Like, groan. And and I probably stop about right here. And then again, you just like, I do get it. I agree with this in general. There were some SJW, air quotes, activists that were really shitty at this kind of thing. Inarticulate, irrational, sloganeering, dogmatic. No, I will not elaborate on that. And if you disagree with the enemy rhetorical mode, I 100% agree with that. Does anybody disagree with that? The 2016 era, like leftists that were trying desperately to talk about, say, racism. You know what a great example of this was a video by why am I forgetting their name? Why am I forgetting Milo? Not Yiannopoulos, Stewart. And they were it's still they, right? Steve Shives was bad at this as well. Does Milo still go by they? Milo's non-binary, correct? Just asking. Last I knew was. Anybody? Don't all chat at once. You don't recall. One person doesn't recall. Dan.
Good call, baby.
Queer Who Bear. Thanks for the 8 months. Is it he, they? Okay. I'm gonna go with what Quinn said. But anyway, Milo was correct. Thanks to people like Gazi. Exactly, right. And Milo's talked about that, and that's changed, right? But, you know, everybody is a racist sort of thing. Like, you're a racist. It's like, there is a difference between being part of a racist structure, similar to ACAB, right? Where all cops are bastard. And I pushed back on ACAB the first time I heard about it. If you're about a 3-year subscriber, you probably remember this. I was like, I don't know if that's like reasonable. But it wasn't that all cops individually are pieces of shit people. All cops are complicit in the structure of the thing, and that's frankly that's not a cute slogan. ACAB is definitely easier to say. It's reductive. It's not what everybody means when they say ACAB. They don't mean this person specifically is a piece of irredeemable shit. They mean specifically this person's choice of vocation exacerbates and contributes to the subjugation of numerous amounts of people throughout the country, especially people of color and young people. So, or poor people, not young people. But you know, that's not quick. That's not cute. And I mean, we say ACAB here, and we get it, but I mean, it's just one of those things. So I agree with the premise that she is talking about, where people are, of course, bad at communicating. But again, she just diffuses that. And then the last part of her tweet, I feel like I'm going to cough. She says, if there's an observation here beyond boomer irritation with rhetoric, I wanted to say rhetoric, I guess it's that a lot of queer community discourse online has been so addled by excess gatekeeping that the backlash to the gatekeeping has now taken center stage with some weird consequences. Excuse me. Lo Main, thank you for the 5 gifted subbies. You won to Dark Imp, High Octane Horse Me, Axe Daddy, and Ace Draconia. That's only 4. Wait, why is it? There's the 5th. Wild Woods Den.
Good call, baby bird. Good call.
Thank you. So much discourse about the rights and validity of, for example, lesbians who are attracted to men, trans people who don't transition, asexual people who desire sex. It's weirdly at odds with the broader purpose of these communities, which is to see trans people who don't transition. She's going to mention, I believe, in a second that it's fine, but yeah, she says it right here, whatever that means to you. But like, even just saying trans people who don't transition, like, I don't even know what that means, right? Asexual people who desire sex. It's weirdly at odds with the broader purpose of these communities, which is to support women attracted to women and their hard-fought right not to be with men, gender transition, whatever that means to you, and people who don't experience sexual attraction. I get that combating excess gatekeeping is necessary. I just find it a little alienating how much the discourse centers these issues. Maybe I should keep that feeling to myself, and this is all a terrible mistake, or maybe there's something more to discuss here. I don't know, honestly. I'll think about it some more. Sorry for the trouble. I don't have a problem with her having this part of the conversation. I actually think this is the best part of this entire, like, notepad thing she's doing. I just don't... I don't understand why she doesn't understand when she says shit like that, why people will be upset. You know what I mean? Because I feel like she's really, really dismissive of, like, when people are trying to have that conversation, like, she outright dismisses them, right? She's like, oh, I'm an asexual who loves to fuck. And it's like, a horny asexual who loves to fuck, or whatever. She's just, like, blowing up the goodwill you have from that part of the community. And it's just so fucking weird. I'm sorry, Magnetar, that's happening to you. Action does not equal attraction. The ace thing makes perfect sense, and the ace community fights for its distinction. Exactly. And I think scoffing and dismissal and like a funny quip is easier. And the brevity of Twitter doesn't help. But I don't know. I hope that whatever she's apparently doing a video after this about something around this.
Ramble was just a gorilla.
I have a feeling she would not be as hurtful if she was in a better headspace. See, yeah. It's just her defense mechanism is to dismiss other people, and I don't think that's helpful. And it just exacerbates the problem, you know what I mean? Especially considering how easy it is to explain why aces like sex. You don't need to be hungry to eat. You don't need to be thirsty in order to drink something. You don't need to be tired in order to sleep. Yeah. Except, I am thirsty and I want to drink. We're talking about sex now. I just started feeling like a valid human being. Yeah, it's, considering how much she's been mass harassed, I don't blame her for that response. I don't blame her for that, and, like, I get the defensiveness. I just don't... She's gone through this before. She it's almost like self-destructive in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she knew that she was going to invite that. It's like, why wouldn't you just put that out there and then turn comments off or something? Like, I don't know. If you wanted to get that out there, it just feels like... I don't know. Is it a hot take to say that it might... I'm getting cynical about drama? I'm getting a little cynical about this. Every time she has an opinion, it's blown out of proportion. I agree it's blown out of proportion. I don't think she's said anything that's, like, fucking irredeemable. I don't think most people have said irredeemable things. But I do think that she invites the kind of... I mean, she invites the kind of responses she's... by saying it the way she says it, in the dismissive way. I agree that Contra's definitely going to, like, she's going to experience a degree of criticism that I think is unreasonable. I do think ace people specifically get to feel upset about that. It's just that, what is the... There's a combination of, like, I guess I'm only going from the perspective of the good criticism. Does that make sense? The good criticism here is what we're talking about right now. Like, there is good criticism here. I do think that some people are a little bit too much. But, like, it's because the way she said that shit really, really mirrored, like, she could tweet just about the same exact thing and do it from Ben Shapiro's account. And, like, you might be like, is he just being a little shitty? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it might be a better tweet than Ben Shapiro's, but, like, that first tweet, not this stuff. This stuff is good. That sort of dismissive, oh, I'm a horny asexual that loves to fuck. Like, because we had a conversation yesterday with a very similar person on Twitter, who was like, he just didn't understand what bisexual means. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, no, dude. He said, like, oh, bisexuality implies there's only two genders. It's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, it's the same exact sort of thing. There could only be, like, oh, asexual means you don't sex. That's it. That's what asexual means. Like, bisexual means there's only, what genders are you getting rid of in your attraction? Kippy, thanks for the 50 biddies. There's genuinely a problem with flaming it as Gen Z. It's a racist part of the ace community. I assume other communities mentioned. I've always been here, always functioned with those understandings, but we haven't been able to speak or be seen. Yeah, I guess. I also think there's a little bit of, like, I think it's okay to understand that maybe she's just ignorant of some things and just genuinely doesn't understand stuff. I think that's okay. I do think because of the way her content is, people expect her to know like 100% of what she's talking about at all times, but I don't think that's reasonable for anybody, including an ace person. You know what I mean? So there's some of it where I think the standards are too high. She is just a content creator. She's a massively successful one, but she's just like anybody else. Like anybody, literally anybody, an ace person could give you a definition of asexuality that another ace person would disagree with. And that's okay, because everybody gets to be valid. I just think it's the dismissive tone to which she tends to frame some of this stuff that gets her the flack. And I think that exacerbates people's reaction to it. And, you know, in a leftist space, when you're massively popular and you have a lot of money and stuff, like, people are going to be, like, shitty to you. Maybe for good reason, maybe not. I don't think Contra deserves, like, burning at the stake or anything like some people see. Like, I don't know, some people make it their entire personalities to hate content creators. And I think that's fucking weird. Yeah. The speed at which these ideas develop online is insane now. All you gotta do is try to educate if someone's lost. I agree with that as well. So queer people aren't a monolith. That's true. Weird. Yeah, I just think there is a huge combination of a massive amount of people that are not good at communicating complex ideas. That is true. And then the way people get dismissed in those communities, she dismissed them in a very similar way, and it just felt close enough to a lot of people. Like, again, a lot of ace people specifically were just, like, really fucking mad about that, because that felt like every other time they've been dismissed. So it's like, yeah.